Welcome to Congregation Beth Yeshurun Friday night services. On this Shabbat before the July 4th Independence Day. So welcome everybody. It's a celebration of the United States as well as Shabbat. And we're going to begin our services this morning by singing Hine Ma Tov. So many people know that's a verse from the Psalms. It says, behold how good it is for brothers and sisters to dwell together. And now we're going to rise as we bless the Sabbath candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We may be seated again. And we will now welcome the Sabbath angels with Shalom Aleichem, page 5.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni Leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitkhem Leshalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
It's nice to have our president, Lori Herzog, back from Israel. And while they were in Israel, you saw the recording last week, Rabbi Strauss and Cantor Goldman sang a famous song that was invented up in Tzfat in the northern part of Israel by the Kabbalistic mystical Jews there. That was Lecha Dodi, but they also, that same group of people, sort of invented the whole Kabbalat Shabbat service, which includes 7 psalms that we sing before we even get to the evening service. We do an abbreviated Kabbalat Shabbat here, so we're going to do we're going to start with Psalm 95, Lechu Neranana, which is found on page 11.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekadma fanav betodah. Naria, naria, letzor
And now another psalm from Kabbalat Shabbat on page 14. Yismechu Hashemayim. We're also going to do page 14, Yismechu Hashemayim. So that's where the little red caret, the little orange triangle or red triangle is on page 14. And then we're going to do Romamu, which is found on page 20, again, where the little red caret is. So it's kind of a mashup of these two psalms from Kabbalat Shabbat. Page 14 and then page 20.
ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. Yeramayam, Yeramayam, umelo. Yeramayam, 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 umelo. Yesmechu hashamayim, Yesmechu hashamayim, Yesmechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yeramayam. Yeramayam, Yeramayam, umelo. Yeramayam, 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 umelo. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho.
Now we come to the centerpiece of the Kabbalat Shabbat part of the service with Lecha Dodi, where we welcome the Sabbath bride, the Sabbath queen, into our congregation. Lecha Dodi, page 23.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat tekavela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat tekavela. Zamor v'zachor v'dibur echad yishmi'anu el hamichad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet elitila. Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haberachah v'rosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh v'machshava techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela.
25.
בואי ושלום עצרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקה.
Now that we've welcomed the Sabbath angels and the Sabbath bride, let's welcome each other. Say Shabbat Shalom to the people around you. You may be seated. When we have visitors to Beth Yeshurun, I meet with them afterwards, and sometimes they ask me why everybody stands up and turns to the back of the room. So in case you didn't know why we stand up and turn to the back of the room, it's because we are imagining that the Sabbath, the Sabbath, is actually a bride, and actually is coming in from the back of the room like a bride enters into a wedding. And so what happens when the bride enters the room? Everybody stands up and turns to look at the bride as she comes in, right? And then we're bowing to the bride because she's not only a bride, she's also the queen. So you bow to the queen like royalty. So that's what we're doing there. And that ends the sort of Kabbalat Shabbat beginning that was invented in Tzfat really in the 1600s, so about 400 years ago. And it's a relatively recent addition to Jewish prayers. Now we're going to go back to sort of a more ancient prayer for those who are mourning, the Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, which is found on page 30. If you are mourning or observing a yard site, please rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shebei Rabbah, Bialma Divrach Hirutei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kari v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach li'alam li'almei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudsha b'rechu. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiron bi'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Osei shalom b'imramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Now we begin the formal evening service with Baruch Hu, which is the call to worship on page 39.
Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da.
You may be seated. And now we'll continue with a special prayer that talks about God's love for us. He loves us so much, he gave us the Torah as a way of life with all its commandments for us to follow to become good people. Ahavat Olam, page 40.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים אותנו לימדת, על כן אדוני אלוהינו, ושוכבנו ושוכבנו במקומנו, נשיח, נשיח, נשיח בחוקיך, אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו, עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently in Hebrew or English to the bottom of page 42. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, God, amongst the mighty? The song our ancestors sang when they crossed the Red Sea, we sing it now twice every day. Page 44, Mi chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא 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 תהילות עושה פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא 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 תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בנס,
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Help us, O God, to lie down in peace tonight and waken us again to life renewed in the morning. Page 45, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Ushmon tziteinu uvoeinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam ve'ad olam ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
You might think of Jewish services as sort of like a symphony. Symphonies have many different movements, fast ones, slow ones, loud ones, soft ones. And our prayers are sort of like that also. They reflect all the different aspects of life, sometimes happy, sometimes not so happy, sometimes contemplative. And so all the different melodies that we have sort of reflect those different moods as we go through the service. We're going to have a little bit more of a jazzy one now. Vishamru, page 46.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please rise for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ואמר יבא קידותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן השערים ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם לעולמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויפע ותאמר וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כה בחטא ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן לעלמה ויאמרו
Amen. Now that we've prayed together as a community, we have an opportunity to pray privately in a private audience with God. The Amidah for Shabbat, which begins on page 47 and continues to page 52. You can pray in Hebrew or English, and feel free to add your own thoughts and prayers. If you haven't finished the Amidah, you may continue. We're going to do two prayers for peace that come at the end of the Amidah, starting with Shalom Rav, sort of the middle of page 51, and then Oseh Shalom, the bottom of page 52.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Now that we've had two prayers for peace, we have a prayer for healing. It's on the inside back cover of our prayer books, a prayer for healing for those in need of a special prayer at this time. Misha Berach.
מי שברך אבותינו, מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing for us and all of those we love. מי שברך אמותינו, מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
May God bless those in need of healing with strength and continued vigor, and let us say Amen. You may be seated. We now do the Kaddish Shalem, page 54.
יתגדל ויגדל שמי רבה, ועמד יבחירותי, והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובמכון חי לכל בית ישראל, וגלה בזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ועולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויפאר וטובה ונעשה, יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לילה מנקו ברכתה ושירתה, תושקתה ונחמתה, דמירן מעלמה ואמרו אמן. תקבע סוטון ואלטון דכל ישראל, קודם ובון וישמיה ואמרו אמן. אשתמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים על לב על כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום מרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Shabbat Shalom. So he was perhaps the most famous American before the Revolutionary War. He was a scientist, an inventor, a philosopher, and a diplomat. He was one of the founders of the United States. And though he was a devout believer in God, he was not a good Presbyterian, which was the denomination of Christianity in which he was raised. He was a real product of the Enlightenment, allowing his faith to be shaped by the contours of modern scientific knowledge. His face has adorned the United States $100 bill since 1929, so by now I'm sure you've guessed that I'm talking about Benjamin Franklin. On this Shabbat, anticipating American Independence Day this coming Tuesday, I thought I'd share with you some things about this American patriot, and particularly an unusual aspect of his relationship with the Jewish people that many people may not have heard about. In a very amazing and an unbelievable way, Benjamin Franklin gave a kind of gift to us, a kind of a spiritual gift. But before I tell you what this gift was, you need to recall that Benjamin Franklin knew the Hebrew Scriptures really well, what we call the Bible. He had suggested that the Great Seal of America depict Moses standing on the shore of the Red Sea while Pharaoh drowns in his chariot in its midst. The motto at the bottom of the seal would have read, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." You see, Franklin was among those founding fathers who saw in the American Revolution a replaying of the story of the Jewish exodus from Egypt. King George III was Pharaoh. George Washington was Moses. The Atlantic Ocean was the Red Sea. And it was as if God were saying to King George, "Let my American people go." It's also important to point out that when the Jewish community in Philadelphia built their synagogue, which they named Mikveh Israel, Franklin actually contributed to the building fund himself. But that's not the gift I'm talking about tonight. So what was this gift? Well, Franklin wrote an autobiography that was published a year after his death in 1791. And in the second half of his biography, Franklin included a section called Rules of Conduct. And what Franklin proposed for his rules of conduct was a list of 13 virtues that he wished to promote and instill in himself. But he realized that merely listing these virtues was not going to actually change his behavior. So he devised a journal system using a chart that listed all 13 virtues down the left side in a column, and then he made 7 columns across the page for each of the 7 days of the week. And each night before he would go to sleep, he would put a black dot in the column for that day on the row of any of the virtues that he had transgressed that day. 1 dot for each transgression. Some of them probably got kind of black in the square there. But anyway, he listed the virtues in the order that he wished to work on them, and he focused on 1 virtue every week for 13 weeks. And then he would cycle through those virtues 4 times. So if you've done the math, 4 times 13 is 52, so that by the end of the year, he had cycled through all 13 virtues 4 times. So what were these 13 virtues that that Benjamin Franklin was determined to develop within himself? Well, here they are. Number 1, temperance in eating and drinking. This is the essence of a good diet, among other things. Number 2, silence. Only speak when it's actually useful or helpful to do so. Don't engage in idle chatter. I'm imagining that that's pretty difficult for most of us. Number 3, order. Keep your things organized and have fixed times to do your various tasks. Number 4, resolution. Be determined to follow through on the things that you need to accomplish. By the way, if you want a list of these, just email me. I'll send them to you. But you have to make the chart, otherwise it's not going to help, I think. Number 5, frugality. Spend money only on the things that will actually benefit yourself or others. Don't be wasteful. Number 6, industry. Always be engaged in doing something useful. Do not waste time on unnecessary activities. I'm kind of wondering what Franklin would say about video games or Netflix or TikTok. Anyway, number 7, sincerity. Do not cause harm with lies and deceit. Think innocently and justly, and if you speak, speak accordingly. Number 8, justice. Do the right thing and do not hurt others by doing something unfair. Number 9, moderation. Avoid the extremes and do not be so easily offended or hurt by what other people do or say. Number 10, cleanliness in body, clothing, and habitation. Number 11, tranquility. What we might say today, don't sweat the small stuff. And don't get upset by common or unavoidable accidents. Number 12, chastity. Well, I guess I don't need to explain that one. Number 13, humility. On this virtue, Benjamin Franklin's own comment was, imitate Jesus and Socrates. Okay, so it's not a bad list, and except for the references to Jesus and Socrates at the end, it could have been a list put together by, say, a Polish rabbi of the 18th century. And in fact, that's almost exactly what happened. I mentioned that Benjamin Franklin's diary was first published in 1791. It was distributed widely all over the United States, became a bestseller, and then it went to Europe, to England, to France, to Italy, to Germany, to Spain, even to Holland. And then Ben Franklin's diary was published in Poland, where a Jew picked up a copy and read it, and deciding that this was just an amazing idea, and he had to share it with his landsmen, the Jews of Poland. So he published a book called Sefer Cheshbon HaNefesh, the Book of Accounting of the Soul. It was printed in 1808. It was sort of a book about moral and spiritual improvement, and in the book he reproduced Franklin's grid of 13 virtues and 7 days of the week, and he described how a person should work on one virtue each week for 13 weeks, just the way Franklin had done. By the way, he also credited Benjamin Franklin. So who was this Jew, and how did he get a hold of a copy of Ben Franklin's diary? Although the author did not sign his name to the book, we now know who wrote it. His name was Menachem Mendel Leffin, and he was not an Orthodox Jew. He was not a Hasidic Jew. He actually was what we call a maskil, that is, an enlightened Jew. That is, he was very much like Benjamin Franklin. Menachem Mendel was a product of the Enlightenment. A disciple of Moses Mendelssohn, Leffin wanted to preserve traditional Judaism while introducing Jewish readers to modern scientific and general literature. And Leffin's adaptation of Franklin was so successful that Polish Jews during the 1800s called Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, they called him the Musar Chacham of Philadelphia. Musar means it was the Jewish ethical movement that was trying to make people better. Chacham is the Hebrew word for a sage, and of course he was from Philadelphia, so they called him the Musar Chacham of Philadelphia. Franklin himself had prefaced his little journal with some quotations and prayers, including this quotation from the book of Proverbs. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. That probably sounds familiar to many of us because we sing it in Hebrew every time we return the Torah to the Ark. Darcheha darchei noam v'kol netivoteha shalom. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. And then he included this prayer that I think he made up. Father of light and life, thou good supreme, teach me what is good. Teach me thyself. Save me from folly, vanity, and vice, from every low pursuit, and fill my soul with knowledge, conscious peace, and virtue pure, sacred, substantial, never-fading bliss. What a marvelous prayer, and very similar to a prayer that we recite every morning in the early morning prayer section of our prayer book. Now, Benjamin Franklin, with all of his monumental achievements during his lifetime, was not actually what we would call a saintly, pure person. I don't know if you've read biographies of him, but some of his character traits were less than ideal. He was known to be, shall we say, flirtatious. He admitted in his diary that he tended to be arrogant, and he talked quite a bit, often engaging in idle chatter, which is one of his 13 principles. But he was a man who apparently recognized his shortcomings, and he was willing and even determined to try and improve himself. I find it remarkable that this prescription for self-improvement coming from an enlightened American Christian crossed the Atlantic Ocean, was translated by an enlightened Jew in Poland, and became part of classic literature in Jewish Musar, the school of morality and character building that is now popular in the Jewish world. Menachem Mendel Levin, by the way, fits precisely in the mold of what we call today conservative Judaism. That's us. The stream of Jewish thinking that fervently believes in science and the Enlightenment, but continues to preserve and to adapt Jewish tradition to the modern world. Which goes to show that conservative Judaism's essential principles have played a crucial role in the continuing development of modern Judaism. But perhaps a more important lesson we can learn from this tiny slice of Jewish history is the famous dictum of the sage Ben Zoma from Pirkei Avot, chapters of the Fathers. Ezehu Chacham, who is the Chacham, who is the wise one, who is the sage? Halamed Mikol Adam, the one who learns from everyone. To cut ourselves off from the wisdom of others, either because they're not Jewish or because they are Jewish but from a different movement, would be a terrible mistake. True wisdom is gained by recognizing truth wherever it can be found. In his diary, Benjamin Franklin expressly stated that he intended his method to be used by people of all religions. He truly saw in all faiths the desire to do God's will. In recent years, there's been a resurgence of interest in the Jewish Musar movement, and there are many books and programs that have been published and created to teach this wisdom. And if you're interested, again, you can email me, and I will give you some suggestions. On July 4th, 1788, Franklin was too sick and too weak to get out of bed. But the Independence Day parade in Philadelphia marched right under his window. And, as Franklin himself had directed, the clergy of different Christian denominations with the rabbi of the Jews walked arm in arm. And when he was carried to his grave 2 years later, his casket was accompanied by all the clergymen of the city, every one of them of every faith. So this year on July 4th, let's celebrate the wonderful country that we live in with the brilliant founding fathers whose wisdom inspired the principles on which it was founded, including the Chacham of Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin. And perhaps we can also consider learning about Jewish Musar, a program that helps us to improve our own spirituality and our own moral character traits. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. And now we're all going to rise for Aleinu on page 56 in our prayer books.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגרור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרוב השמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת תחתינו על כן נקבל לך ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We now recite the mourner's Kaddish for those in mourning, those observing a yard site. And this evening, Beth Yeshurun extends its condolences to Nava Lizzie Gilad Silver, Howard Kaplan, and Charles Barry Goldberg, who were taken from us the last couple weeks and years. It's Nava Einav, and Lisa Gilad Silver. Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Gadash Shemei Rabam v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agala uv'zman kariv v'yamru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam le'almei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit adar v'yit aleh v'yit alal shemei d'kudsha barichu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiron b'yalma v'yamru Amen. O sheish lama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. O say shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru Amen. You may be seated. So we have, I believe we only have one couple who's celebrating an anniversary this evening. I hope we have everybody on the list here. Nora and Chris Brown are celebrating 37 years. Yay. You feel blessed that you're both here in good health, as is your son, who is currently living in Austin. And of course, it's a pleasure to see you every Friday night like clockwork. And it's a pleasure to see you here this evening and to be able to celebrate your anniversary with us this evening as well. Mazel tov. And then we have one couple who is about to get married. So I'd like to call up Eden Shapiro and Scott Leva. So I have a gift bag for you, but I didn't bring it out, so we'll give it to you afterwards. Don't go away without it. Okay. So Eden, you're the daughter of Diana and Adrian Shapiro, and Scott, you're the son of Lisa Leva and Jonathan Leva. And Eden, I've known you almost since I got here, a long time ago. And Scott, it's been a pleasure to get to know you as well, and we're looking forward to celebrating with you Sunday evening here in Houston. And I know your family and friends are here with you this evening as well to celebrate this occasion as you get called up on the Shabbat before your wedding ceremony. Three things that you said make your couple make you work so well together as a couple. Number one, you are playful, and you know how to have fun and to make each other laugh. I have to agree that laughter is definitely a major component of a good relationship. Number two, you have many shared interests, such as staying active, hanging out with your friends and family, and shared Jewish values. That's terrific. Mazel tov on that. And the third thing is you have good communication, which is really, really important, and helping each other reach your goals. So Mazel tov, we're very delighted to be able to celebrate with you this evening. Let me say the priestly blessing for you this evening. We're going to say it again under the chuppah. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Holy One bless you and watch over you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the Holy One's light shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God always be mindful of you and grant you peace and happiness now and always. Mazel tov. Okay, so we have just a couple of announcements. We're still taking registration for religious school, Sulam, which is the middle grades, and then Kehila High. So if you want to register your kids, please go on our website to do so. we are going to have a second B'nai Mitzvah. So when you are 83 years old in the Jewish tradition, you have a second Bar Mitzvah. Right? In the Psalms, it says the average life 2,000, 3,000 years ago was 70 years. Now, thank God, we can live longer, but back then, 70 years. And so you add 13 to that, you get 83, so you get a second Bar Mitzvah when you're 83. So if you were born in 1940, we have a special deal for you. On July 22nd, Rabbi Fort and Neil Tybell here will do a special service for you, and you get to be called up to the Torah or have other honors. Please contact the synagogue so we can arrange to place you in the service if you want to participate in our second B'nai Mitzvah program this summer, July 22nd. On Tuesday, July 25th at 9:30, the Beth Yeshurun Sisterhood and Jewish Family Services Celebration Company are going to do once again their honeyless honey cake mix. We're going to be assembling 500 bags of cake mix, and we need about 50 volunteers for that. Volunteers of all ages are welcome. It's very easy to do. We produce these kits and then distribute them for the high holidays. For our baby boomers and seniors, we have two up-and-coming events. At 1 o'clock on July 25th, we'll meet at the Holocaust Museum for a guided tour of I'll Have What She's Having, the Jewish deli, featuring, of course, our own Ziggy from Kenny and Ziggy's. So that's July 25th at 1 o'clock. And on Tuesday, July 8th, we're going to have a trip to Lake Charles for the day. So you can join the trip to Lake Charles. You can sign up for these things on our website or call the office during the week. For the third summer, we're doing the Kids Meals Juice Box Challenge, and we only have about a couple hundred juice boxes to go, so please bring in your juice boxes so we can meet the challenge to give to the kids' meals. And that is all our announcements for the evening. And so now we'd like to invite the kids up to help us do Kiddush. So if we have children, if we have some kids up there, come on up.
It's okay, they're all
We have a
shy
bunch of
today.
shy people today. Okay. Okay. We're going to do Kiddush, and then we're going to bless the children. All right, come on up. Yeah, all right. Brave person.
We got
All right.
one. Woo.
Hey, you got it.
I got two.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu eshava kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon inchilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereishit ki hu yom techila le'mikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki banu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shavat kodshecha be'ahava u'vratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Chaim.
And while we're standing, I'll do a blessing for our children. For the girls, we say, Yisimech Elohim, Kesara, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. For the boys, we say, Yisimcha Elohim, Ke-Ephraim, V'Menashe. May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And for all of you, we say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'Yishmerecha. May the Holy One bless you and watch over you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'Yikunecha. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'Yasem lecha shalom. May God always be mindful of you, grant you peace and happiness now and always. And to all of us, we say, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.